Hello, everyone. Welcome to another draft in preparation for this Ixalan draft. Just as a reminder, these are just really quick run through videos as fast as I can of going through the draft process. I'm drafting five bots or just against the computer. And today I'm going to be drafting, or at least in this video, I'm going to be drafting vampires. So if you're interested in out of the options, it's cats, dinosaurs, merfolk, vampires, and pirates. I'm going to be making a video for each of those. And so I'm first taking Soren here because I think Soren's is one of the see it, take it cards for vampires, one of the best ones. So I'm taking Soren as my first pick, and now I kind of have to. Um, let's see. What do I? I'm actually going to stop, and I'm going to go to zero. Oh, sweet. First pick. I'm going to continue. Okay. So um, I first picked Soren, and I think it's because he is one of the best options in terms of vampires. It's mostly because some of the best vampires are very expensive, and if you see his second option there, you can sacrifice a vampire and, or I'm sorry, his third option there. -3, you may put a vampire creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. So similar to the dinosaur videos, this is the same idea, but for vampires. Okay, so let's talk through. Do we see any cards that you see it, take it? No, I do not. So what cards are good for vampires that I'm kind of seeing in here? Well, the first one I'm seeing is this Legion Landing. Legion's Landing is an enchantment that can turn itself into a land, so don't be put off by that. It just has a front and a back side of the card. So one part is an enchantment, and you have to kind of do certain things to unlock the back side of the card, which is a land. And when it comes in, it creates a vampire. And if you attack with three or more creatures, which vampires are all about, spreading up and building up their army, then you can unlock this land. So Legion's Landing, sweet looking card. I think I do want to take it, so I want to highlight it right now. Let's just see if there's anything else. This Orzhov Guildgate is perfect for vampires because vampires are predominantly white, black, and then there are some red ones. So the highlight card, we want to see that Edgar Markov. We've got the Soren for it. We want to see the Vein Ripper. Orzhov Guildgate would be really, really good for that. So that's also a really good card. But when you've got such a solid pick in a Legion's Landing, I think we're going to run with it. Other good cards to note is Spirit Mantle. It gives your vampires protection from other creatures, meaning they can't even touch it with other creatures. They can't block with it. They can't deal damage to it. So that'd be really great, especially in a creature-heavy cube, to have something that protects your vampires. But I think I want a little bit more vampires in my queue before I take that. So let's take Legion's Landing, and we're going to throw these off to the side over here. And now let's look around. Do I see any? Oh, I do see a couple vampires. So let's start with Bishop of Binding. Bishop Binding is great. It's a vampire, but it also has interaction. It deals with your opponent's stuff. So Bishop of Binding enters, you exile a creature an opponent controls, meaning just remove it completely. That could be their giant dinosaur, that could be a tiny little merfolk, but you just remove it completely until they get rid of Bishop of Binding themselves. Now, when Bishop Binding then attacks, a vampire gets plus X attack, plus X defense, where X is the power of the exile card. So remember in the dinosaur video, if that Galta, 12 attack, 12 defense, you can make one of your little vampires turn into a 12 attack, 12 defense additional with Bishop of Binding. Sweet card and really good interaction. Might have to take that. Well, let's double check the other vampire here. So I'm seeing Dominating Vampire, red, and double red at that. So I mean, I'm going to need to find a lot of lands because I've already got white and black cards. Red, when Dominating Vampire enters, you get control of target creature, so one of your opponent's creatures, with mana value, the cost of the card, less than or equal to the number of vampires you control. That's really cool. I haven't taken enough vampires, though, to feel comfortable taking that kind of card. It's really cool if you've got a ton of vampires. You could totally take all of your opponent's creatures, but I need more vampires, and I need a reason why. So I think I'm going to stick with this Bishop Binding. This Arid Mesa is very, very good. I just want to note that, but I want to secure more vampires before I take this Arid Mesa for now. Okay, let's look through as again here. So I don't see any vampires. So what we can start looking for are things that support vampires. So vampires, one of the biggest things that they might enjoy is being in the color black. And black allows you to reanimate or bring back from the dead creatures. So this is an enchantment. You pay its 2 mana, and you bring a creature back from your graveyard back to life. And that's super good with some of the vampires that just really want to stay on the board. And then there's Bitter Triumph as well, is all you've got to do is pay some of your own life, very vampiric, and destroy a creature or planeswalker. Between the two right now, I think these are really sweet. And once again, we're kind of settling between white and black. So I'm not really looking at other cards that are not white and black. I'm really focusing on just the white and black cards right now. So Animate Dead is going to be the card I'm going to take. I really like the idea of bringing back my creatures. You just tried to kill them, and so I'm going to bring them right back from the dead. Okay, so I see 2 cards that are super good here. 3 cards that are super good. I see Cordial Vampire, probably one of the best vampires. It's almost a see it, take it vampire. Whenever Cordial Vampire or another creature dies, so they die, put a 1/1 counter on each vampire you control. That's so good. Additionally, you have Godless Shrine. Now I can have a land that produces white and black for my cards. Currently, I have no lands for that, so that's really good too. And then Polluted Delta. Oh my goodness, I don't know. I want Cordial Vampire. I want Godless Shrine. I want Polluted Delta. I think ultimately one of the best lands in the game for me right now is this Godless Shrine, and this Polluted Delta goes really well with it. But this Cordial Vampire, if I can get that going, I think I win the game. So I think I'm going to try to secure the vampire first, and I really hope those lands come back. Okay. So now, I'm checking out, and I see a new vampire here, but this vampire costs red and black, so I got to keep that in mind. But other vampires, I get +1 attack, +1 defense, and have first strike. Oh, okay, this is a sweet card. It buffs up my vampires, but I need to get some red mana. And guess what? Badlands is right there. Badlands is super, super good. I also want to know Ocelot Pride is good in any deck, but I'm sticking with my guns here, and this vampires only as best I can. So I'm really stuck between Badlands and Stormkirk Captain. I think what I want to do is I want to secure the land, and then in case other vampires come up, that'd be really good. So I think in this case, I'm going to secure the red ability, and then if I'm going to be able to play more red vampires later, that'd be great. Okay, so I'm kind of seeing really nothing for vampires here. So I think the closest thing I'm going to get is this nice defensive card, Settle the Wreckage. So I'll snag this Settle the Wreckage. It's a nice defensive card. If your opponent attacks, it's very similar to like Mirror Force from Yu-Gi-Oh! If you remember. But it's nice, it's control, and it's also in my colors, so I'm going to stay safe with that. Oh, check out what just came back. Spirit Mantle is really sweet. I've got some more vampires. But this Orzhov Guildgate would be really, really nice, and I think that's what I have to take here because I've got black and white, and the only colors of land that I have that's multiple colors is black and red right now. So I think I need to secure the black and white for my cards. Now looking back, I'm checking out this thing. Like none of these are really in my colors. None of these are really this. This is a dinosaur. I'm not really interested in that. But this Stoneforge Masterwork. The equipped creature is going to get +1 attack, +1 defense for each other creature you control that shares a creature type with it. That works perfectly. I'm running vampires. I want to make a lot of vampires. This is going to give one of my vampires a ton of bonus for each other vampire I have out. Okay, here we go. All right, so we've got a bunch of cats, a goblin pirates, green card, Return to the Ranks. Return to the Ranks is super interesting. It cares a lot about having cheap creatures in my graveyard. And right now, I don't really have a bunch of cheap creatures, that especially mana value 2 or less. And even at that, I've got Animate Dead if I want to bring something back. And so this is a super good card, but I think I need to build up more of an engine here. So I think possibly, really, actually, the only other card is I've got this Rotting Regisaur. that forces me to discard a card. So I think maybe I might have to take that even though it's a dinosaur, not my vampires. But the Return of the Ranks, it really doesn't do anything for me right now. So I think I'm going to take this Rotting Regisaur and just see what happens with it. And now we're kind of at the limited crowd here. So I'm going to take this Door of Destinies and I'm just going to toss them into the sideboard. I'm going to, well, yeah, Ocelot Pride. Talk about too good of a card to pass up. I'm going to breathe out it because that fits in with my white colors and it also wants to make tokens, but I'm not going to highlight it. It's just not part of my vampires. So then I'll bring in some other cards, bring in some other cards that are not really going to be in my deck. And now let's go to pack number 2. Oh, I have a See It, Take It card. I've got multiple very, very good See It, Take It cards. So I am going to stick with the Mox Ruby because it's a See It, Take It card. So you don't ask any questions. You see it, you take it. But I just want to note that there are a few other cards. The Bloodline Keeper, similar to this Legion's Landing that has a front and a backside. This Bloodline Keeper has a front and a backside. The Sanguine Evangelist, tons of vampires. And a Chrome Mox is in here. A Reanimate, one of the best reanimation spells. Like I've got this Reanimate Dead here. But I'm going to stick with the Mox Ruby. It's a See It, Take It. I see Vampire Nighthawk too. And I see Misty Rainforest. But even though it's not really in my colors, but I see a Mox, I take a Mox. And so that's what we're going to do. All right, and this next pack, much worse for us than that first one. So I think in terms of all of these, I'm just kind of looking through really quickly. I'm not really seeing anything for us, but I've got this Ossification. So Ossification, it's an enchantment. You pay it, it stays on, but you've got to pay it and then have a basic land in play. So that's totally fine. We'll have those. But what does it do? It enters and exiles, removes from the game completely a creature or planeswalker an opponent controls until this leaves the field. So very similar text to Bishop of Binding. So I love that. It goes well with what I'm already doing. I'm reading it. It sounds similar to Bishop of Binding, just cheaper. And so I'm going to take it. All right. Kind of looking through here, we've got a couple different options. We've got a Demonic Tutor, allows us to search for any card in our deck and take it. A Vampire Socialite, that's a red and black vampire. Another red and black vampire and Bloodtide Harvester. And then we got this Path to Exile, one of the best removal for white. And just the period. So I think that's really, really good. But the ability to find my Sorin at a moment's notice, I think I want to be able to look for. This is a very darn close to See It, Take It card. So Demonic Tutor, you look through your entire deck for one card, put that card directly into your hand, and just take it. So I think I'm going to take that because I really like the idea of if I need my Sorin, if I need my Settle, if I need my Animate Dead, I've got it right there. So I think I really want to take that card. All right, and so now we're kind of looking around, and I'm not seeing too many. I see one vampire here. Let's check out the vampire. Whenever this Anji, Maid of Dishonor, this card, and or one or more other vampires enter the battlefield, so that you play them or they enter under control, create a blood token. Ooh, sweet. So we like blood tokens for vampires. This ability only happens once a turn. That's fine. You sacrifice another creature or a blood token. Each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Oh, it's a sweet vampire. It has a little bit of an engine going for it. Play more vampires, get rewarded. Sacrifice the blood token that you create, and you start draining your opponents. It's kind of exactly what I'll do. I just want to note that it needs red. I've got this red Mox Ruby, but and I've got this red Badlands. So I think I'm prepared to take this kind of card. All right. Looking through, I don't quite see any other vampires. Let's see. Yeah, I don't really see anything else as crazy interesting. But what is interesting is that we're going to be playing cheap things quickly, and Nykthos rewards you for playing a lot of things of the same color. And let's see, Sensei's Divine Top allows you to start looking and managing the top card of your deck. And then, man, this Isochron Scepter is not too bad, though, because Isochron Scepter allows you to put a card underneath it and then activate it every turn if you want to. And something like a demonic tutor to do that would be phenomenal. And there are other cards that work really well with this. So maybe that's the pick. I thought there's only one option, which is demonic tutor right now. So I'd have to look for other cards to really play with this. And I think for me, I think that is good enough that to take for now, and just think of it in the back of my mind. Oh, sweet. So we've got some options here. Tolarian Academy is phenomenal, but that's not what we're playing right now. Um, all right, so Black Market Connections, really good enchantment. Queen's Commission, create a lot of vampires very quickly. Create two vampires right there with lifelink. Time Twister is a power 9. It's a see it, take it kind of card. And we are not actually going to take this one because we are so far away from playing blue cards that unless it was something really working with our synergy, I just couldn't see us taking it. So as much as this is a good see it, take it card, we're going to pass on it because we've got two other excellent creatures. We've got this Vampire Vengeful Blood Witch. Whenever it or another creature dies, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So you start draining your opponents. And then you have Knight of the Ebon Legion, which is if your opponent loses more, it gets stronger. And I love both of these cards. I like the idea of whenever our stuff dies, our opponent gets worse off. That leads to a lot of really interesting combinations here, especially if we care about bringing them back to life, and then especially if we have a sacrifice outlet. So that kind of goes really well with what we're already doing here. Oh my goodness. Okay, so let's run very hard and very fast with um, well, I actually kind of really like this reanimate option. We don't have anything quite ready to reanimate, but it's so good with this idea of if we're sacrificing things and trying to take down our opponents, and if we're having to discard cards, it's a good thing to bring back. Now, hopefully, a Vampire Nighthawk comes back, which has Flying, Death Touch, and Lifelink, or something like Chromox or this Bloodline Keeper comes back. That would be really good too. But right now, the reanimate goes really well with what we're trying to do, bringing stuff, sacrificing stuff, and bring it back. So you can see now, if we take a pause, that we're starting to morph into a strategy here of, well, whenever stuff dies, our opponents lose life when we gain life, and we have ways to destroy our own things, triggering that. And whenever we destroy our own things, they lose 2. So it's really, if we have both of them out, they could lose 3 life, and we gain 3 life every time that happens. And then we have things like Animate Dead and oh, where did we just put it? Reanimate, sorry, right there, to bring them, whatever we just destroyed, to bring them right back. Maybe we just do it again. And so possibly that's 6 damage we could deal and still, have a really good board state. So I really like where we're going. Now, in terms of these cards, none of these cards are really what we're doing, what we're working with. So because this is black and maybe a weird green, I might consider taking this in case there's a green card we're going to play. But really, there is nothing here we want. Crucible of Worlds is not the kind of game we're trying to play. It does go well with Rotting Regisaur because we could discard our lands and then play them. So actually, I will take that, but probably won't put it in the deck. Um, we'll put that into the sideboard. Now I'm looking at Blood Tithe Harvester. It is back, thank goodness, and it's a nice 2 mana red and black vampire, and it creates blood tokens as well, so that we can sacrifice to this Anji. Also, it also sacrifices its own self, and that's great. So I really like this, and I'm gonna put it right back into the deck. Now, checking to see what we've got here, I think the best thing, since I see no vampires. I like this Boros Guildgate because it gives us access to red, and now we've got 2 red creatures. So the red is going to go staying right in. Now, looking at this, whenever you sacrifice, this cares a lot about food. We're not really dealing with food. Nykthos cares about playing a lot of the same things with the same color. We've got kind of a mix, so we've got some good red or some good black, but really we're kind of a mixed bag right now. So I don't know if that's really quite the card we want to take. This Ethereal Armor, it cares about having a lot of enchantments. We've only really got 1, and even at that, we've got 2, 3, And yeah, okay, well, we got three, but that's not really where we're going with it. And it would count as four itself, so you get plus four plus four. Maybe that is something that we care about, but really it's three because we want to flip this over. But let's, it's out of all these cards, it's the most likely one we're going to play. So let's take it over and put it into our sideboard for now. Maybe we get more enchantments that'll be good. So now let's see. At the beginning of our combat, we're going to choose to either create treasure, draw cards, losing life, or creating shapeshifters, which count as all creature types. So basically saying create vampire. And then we lose through life. I really like the idea of creating as many vampires as we can, especially because these two are very similar. They're both 3 mana, but this gives us a lot more options, and it's an enchantment that we care about with ethereal armor. So let's go ahead and try to snag that, and let's see what playing with that looks like. Oh, excellent. Vampire Nighthawk came back, and Sanguine Evangelist came back. So Sanguine Evangelist, when she enters or dies, creates a bat creature token, and that's great. And she has Battle Cry. That's really good. And Vampire Nighthawk, that is a super good card with Flying Death Touch and Lifelink. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and snag. Well, if we're trying to reanimate, we actually care a lot about the tokens being made, because if we have Sanguine out, sacrifice her to Anji, and have Vengeful Blood Witch, dealing to our opponent 3 damage, she comes in with a bat, so we could sacrifice both of them, dealing 6. But then whenever she dies, she also makes another bat, so it could be 9. So I think she's actually too good of a card to not play. Neither of these lands we're going to play, so I'll just throw one over to the side. Not going to play this green cat. So now we're on pack 3, our final pack. So do we see how many absolutely must-take-it cards? Well, Necromancy, it kind of does the exact same thing we've been wanting to do. It's an enchantment, check. It is bring something back from the dead, back from the graveyard, check. And so that's really good. And then we have Olivia that is here, and she's just a very, very, very good vampire that could start stealing your opponent's stuff. But in terms of what we're trying to do, this is the exact kind of thing. Now, if we take Necromancy, we are looking just the most expensive vampires we can get our hands on, and we will be set. So now looking at these, I see Verdant Catacombs, I see Mavern Fane, I see Marsh Flats, of course, one of the best lands we could take. I also see Sorin, who is one of the leaders, and he cares a lot about gaining and taking life. And Mavern Fane creates a lot of vampires. And man, that's really, really good. So let's just take a quick look at what we've got. I think what we might need here, and we got Glass Cast Heart, and that creates more blood tokens for us. Wow. Okay. So in light of those things, I think what we're going to have to do is I think we're going to take the Marsh Flats. It's going to help too much with our mana. Our mana is kind of in 3 different areas right now. So we're going to go ahead and take the Marsh Flats just because we need to fix. We got so many different colors, and I have to be kind of reasonable and responsible. So then now we've got a lot of options. So we could say whenever a player sacrifices a permanent, put a 1/1 counter on them, you gain 1 life. Whenever Carmen attacks, run up to 1 of the permanent. That's really great. Both of those things are great. So I think that's exactly what we're going to be doing. Is we're going to be taking all the things. Katie's now in the recording, and we're just looking for big bad vampires that we could take. So whenever you sacrifice these things, you're going to gain life, and for time ability resolve this turn. If it's the second time, each opponent loses 2 life. It's really sweet. So it cares a lot about sacrificing things, which is exactly what we're trying to do. And then Vampire the Dire Moon is just a cheap vampire that's really good. But I mean, I don't want a chance to miss up this veto. I know I'm not even talking about this Mox Diamond here, but we're so okay with kind of where we're at that I'm just going to take this veto here because I want nice payoffs for our vampires. And then, oh man, Anointed Procession doubles our tokens that we create. So anytime something says, hey, create a blood token, create a bat token, create, let's see, what else? A 4/3 white and black vampire demon token. That is going to double every time we do that. But then we have this Zombify over here that returns target creature card from the graveyard to the battlefield, which goes so well with what we're trying to do. And so I think even though these both do really cool things, this gets us an instant gratification. And Anointed Procession, man, it's so good, but we might. Oh man, we actually have plenty. We have one, uh, two, three ways to bring stuff back from the graveyard, but this doubles all of our token creation, and boy, howdy, do we have plenty of it. So, um, hmm, I think Anointed Procession just might have to be the play here because these are all so good, but I think that's the best option. Now we've got, let's see, we've got this giant vampire shade over here. So whenever you tap a swamp for mana, you get to add. So that's really, really good. It doubles your black mana productivity, and then you're able to pump her. That's probably one of the better vampires we could choose right now. And then Vampire's Vengeance deals 2 damage to each non-vampire creature. Oh, that's what we want. Vampire's Vengeance. Deal 2 damage to all the non-vampires that our opponents have. That is great interaction for what we want. And then let's see. Really nothing else in here that's really interesting to us. So what we're going to do is we're probably just going to, let's see. Put Galleon Gates at the beginning of the battlefield, Magmatic Galleon, and it deals 5 damage. Now we're not interested in too many of these things, so I might just take this enchantment because we might play this ethereal armor, and so having more enchantments will probably be best for us. And in fact, Annoying Procession, that's probably a good thing that we brought this card back because that also is an enchantment that will help us with this ethereal armor. So let's go ahead and take this Frenzied Rage. I'm not sure we're going to play it. We'll just put it over to the side for now. And oh, now that we care about token creation, we're going to have this Anointed Procession. We can totally take Mavern Fane and let's see. Yeah. Oh man, this Maverick. Whenever a non-token creature, and it's between that and Glasscast. I think what we really want is this Glasscast Heart. It's going to create blood tokens, and it's just another good thing to create as many tokens as possible for us. And then we've got cheap vampire here, cheap vampire here. So which one do we want? Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, create a blood token. Whenever you discard a card, put a 1/1 counter on her. And 2 mana 1/1. As long as Adanto Vanguard is attacking, gets +2/+0. So it's kind of like a 3 attack, 1 defense, but you could pay life to make it indestructible. That's pretty good. That means I can kind of swing into anything I want. I'll go ahead and take that. Then we got this Alenda's Hierophant. Whenever you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on her. Whenever she dies, you create that many vampire creature tokens where X is her power. Oh, that's exactly what we want because she's going to double up with all of her tokens. So we'll go ahead and snag that vampire as an option. And then kind of none of these are really all that interesting to us. We've only got 2 gates for this Gates of Blaze, so it's 3 mana, deal 2 damage to everything. We don't really want to do that for us. So I might take this Leon and Vanguard. It's not really anything we want to do right now, but all that glitters. And Dusk Legion Duelist. Whenever one or more counters are put on her, you draw a card. So 1/1 counters being put on vampires. When are we going to be doing that? Well, we're going to do that with Cordial Vampire. We're going to do that with, let's see. Well, it doesn't look like we're going to do it too many times, so maybe that's not really going to happen too often. Let's see. Glass card, does it do anything with 1/1 counters? Not really. So I don't think that. Oh, what does Sorin do here? If it's a vampire, put a 1/1 counter on it. Okay, so that's pretty good. It's not the best use of Dusk Legion Duelist, but it is better than almost having nothing. But all that glitters. Let's see. Enchanted creature +1 for each artifact or enchantment you've got out. It's good, but I don't even think we're going to be playing this ethereal armor. We have so many playables, so that I really think we're going to be okay. So I think I'll just take this Dusk Legion Duelist and call it a day there. And then none of these really pick. I'll just throw this into the sideboard. Oh, the Soren came back. That's really good. He's really good for generating life and life gain. So I'll go ahead and take him in over here. And then we got one last vampire as a gift at the very last pick. So this was the vampire deck. Thanks for looking through with me. This is just an example. You'd have to cut some cards here. And so examples of cards I might cut are maybe like this Leonin Vanguard. or let's see, the Evera, or the Rotting Regisword's not a vampire. Um, and then let's see, I'm just kind of looking through this Isochron Scepter. We didn't really find anything good to do with that. Well, really, the Isochron Scepter you could reanimate. Uh, that's really sweet and interesting. But it's kind of a one off and it doesn't even really win you the game. So I'll go ahead and leave it in the sideboard for now. I don't really need it. And then let's see. I think this, because we weren't going the big enchantment routes, I might just cut that as well. And so I think this is roughly where I would keep it. Maybe I cut one or two more cards, but I really like this. It gives me a nice little curve, and thanks for watching too.